Information discussed in this podcast may be sensitive in nature to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Jo Blagg was a cute, bubbly 6-year-old in November of 2021. She lived with her parents, Jennifer and Michael, in Grand Junction, Colorado. Jennifer and Michael were born-again Christians and very active in their churches and in their faith. And to the public's knowledge, a happy and loving, picture-perfect family. But we all know everything is not always what it seems. Michael went to work at his manufacturing job on November 13th, 2001. When he returned home, according to him, the house looked as if there had been a struggle. Jennifer's purse was emptied, their bed covers were a mess, and there was what looked to be some blood in their bed. Abby and Jennifer were nowhere to be found. Michael called the local police, who responded to their home right away, and a search began for both Jennifer and Abby. And while they had some clues that they were able to discover, they didn't really make a whole lot of sense. 8 months later, Jennifer's body would be found. Jo remains missing. Where is Jo Blagg?
From the Abby Jennifer is, we had thousands, over 2,000 volunteers from different states come in. I mean, it was just overwhelming. You never, ever, ever give up hope, like in the Bergfeld case. I mean, you never, ever give up hope that they're going to be found. And we don't know. We don't know where Abby is. We don't have confirmation she's in the landfill. We don't have confirmation that she's on the monument. We don't have confirmation where she's at. I always have hope that someday something will happen that she will be found.
Hello, and welcome to a bonus episode of the Where Are They podcast. The case of Jo Blagg does lead a lot of people to usually one logical conclusion. But the truth is, we just don't know what happened or where Abby is. To date, she has not been found, nor has there been any solid leads leading investigators to solving this case. Let's start at the beginning. Jennifer and Michael met in the early 1990s when Jennifer was in college and Michael was in the Navy. They would get married in 1993, and together they became born-again Christians. Their religion and their faith was a huge part of their life and who they were. They moved to San Diego, California, where on March 21st, 1995, they would give birth to a little girl, Abigail Jo. They would then move to South Carolina, where they again became very involved in their church, starting prayer ministries, Michael teaching Sunday school, and Jennifer working in the church nursery. In 2000, the family moved across the country to Grand Junction, Colorado. Michael was working with a manufacturing company, and Jennifer was a stay-at-home mom. Abby was attending a local Christian school. On November 12th, 2001, a series of events would happen that are still pretty unclear. But this is Michael Blagg's story. On Monday, November 12th, 2001, the family had a normal type of day. Abby went to school, Michael had gone to work. When Michael got home that afternoon, his wife and Abby were both home. A neighbor also corroborated seeing Abby and Jennifer around 3:30 p.m. that day. Michael said Abby went to bed around 7 p.m. that night. Michael said he tucked her in bed and he sang to her her favorite song, which he sang to her every night, "This Little Light of Mine." After Abby was put to bed, Jennifer had a phone call from a friend about a lunch they were planning for the next day. Both Michael and Jennifer would go to bed shortly after that. When Michael woke up the next morning, Abby and Jennifer were sleeping. Michael left for work around 6 a.m. He returned home from work around 4 o'clock p.m. and noticed that things around the house were quiet. Usually when he would get home, Abby would come running to greet him, but she didn't. He then saw Jennifer's purse dumped out on the floor and walked around the house calling out for Jennifer and Abby, but he was met with only silence. In his and Jennifer's bedroom, he noticed that the bed was a mess. He also noticed what looked like some blood on the bedding. Michael Blagg called the police at 4:20 p.m. Authorities came out to the house to take their report, and something definitely seemed off. Alerts were immediately put out for Jennifer and Abby. Law enforcement learned almost right away that Abby had not shown up for school that day. In fact, someone had actually called the school that morning to let them know that Abby would be absent. They don't know who that person was. Another clue would come shortly after when someone that Michael worked with reported seeing some odd behavior from him on that Tuesday, the day of November 13th. They said that Michael was acting really weird. He had 2 big boxes that he was moving around on a pallet jack, which he ultimately took over to the trash. This coworker volunteered to help him because it looked like he was struggling with these boxes, but Michael was adamant that he didn't need help. This coworker thought that was really odd the way he acted. Another call would come to authorities with some additional information. A Colorado legal aid employee told law enforcement that shortly before her disappearance, Jennifer had come into the office for help with divorcing her husband, saying that she was scared to go through with it. After police received another call, this time from a Colorado escort service identifying Michael as a former frequent client, authorities began surveillance on Michael Blagg. Despite all of this, his family and his friends stuck by him, but soon even their opinions and beliefs began to change. He was caught stealing from work and would be fired in February of 2002. In March of 2002, investigators officially announced that they believed Jennifer and possibly Abby were the victims of foul play and that Michael was their main person of interest. It was also learned that they had combed through the family's minivan and found some evidence of blood in that van, blood that was later identified as belonging to Jennifer Blagg. Authorities believed that Michael killed Jennifer and or Abby and transported their bodies in their minivan. With the information from Michael's employer and coworker, they believed he likely took the body or bodies to work to dispose of them in the trash there. In April of 2002, a large-scale search was initiated. The search included law enforcement on horseback and in helicopters, search dogs, and a tremendous amount of volunteers. The search lasted for 2 weeks, but ultimately, nothing was found. They also began grid searching the landfill in which they believed the trash from his employer had been taken during that time in question. And after several weeks in the landfill, on June 4th, 2002, remains were found. 2 days later, on June 6th, it was announced that those remains were identified as Jennifer Blagg. No trace of Abby Jo Blagg was found there. Jennifer's cause of death was determined to be from a gunshot to the head, which likely happened while she was sleeping. Now, law enforcement had 0 signs of Abby. They had found Jennifer's blood in the home, in the minivan, and then ultimately her body at the landfill, but no signs of Abby at all. In 2004, Michael was found guilty of Jennifer's murder and sentenced to life in prison. In 2014, it was learned that a juror had lied on their questionnaire and the judge declared a mistrial. A new trial took place, and once again, Michael was sentenced to life in prison. Michael allegedly has always maintained his innocence, saying that someone must have broken into his house while he was at work. He still thinks it might be a burglary, as he later came out and said that he thought some of Jennifer's jewelry was stolen. And to date, now 21 years later, Abby Jo Blagg has not been found. Authorities have said they may never find her if she was disposed of in that landfill. But here are my thoughts. A witness said that Michael was seen at work with 2 large boxes, getting them into the trash with the help of a pallet jack. Michael was allegedly acting very strange that day. Jennifer was indeed found at the landfill where his employer's trash would have been taken that week, so it all kind of adds up and makes sense, and it stands to reason that maybe that second large box could have been Abby. But then why, after searching for so long, wasn't Abby found? She should have been in the same area as her mom, Jennifer, and authorities spent weeks in this landfill doing a very thorough grid search. Also, why was only Jennifer's blood found in the home and in the vehicle? No trace of Abby's blood was found anywhere. So we really have 2 schools of thought here. Either Michael killed her or he didn't. And if he did, authorities are likely right. At this point, we may never find her. But if he didn't, then where is she? We don't know a whole lot about Abby Jo Blagg. We know that in 2001, she was 6 years old, living with her parents in a residential neighborhood of Grand Junction, Colorado. Photos of Abby show a smiling, happy girl with a short blonde bob haircut and a missing front tooth. A young girl with her whole life ahead of her. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has released some age progression photos of what Abby might look like today. In 2001, Abby Jo Blagg is described as a Caucasian girl, about 4 foot tall, and weighing around 44 pounds when she was last seen. She was just 6 years old then and would today be 27. She had shorter blonde hair with bangs in 2001, and she had blue eyes. Abby went by both Abigail and Abby. Police do suspect foul play, but they can't be certain. Anyone with any information on the whereabouts of Abby Jo Blagg is asked to contact the Mesa County Sheriff's Office at 970-244-3500. Michael has been in prison now for so many years. I'm surprised he hasn't spoken up yet regarding what happened to his only daughter. As far as I know, he continues to deny having anything to do with Jennifer's murder as well. What do you think happened in the case of Abby Jo Blagg? Thank you so much for listening to Abby's story today. A mystery that leaves many people divided, baffled, and saddened, well beyond the town of Grand Junction, Colorado. We will be back again soon with another unsolved missing person case. And until then, stay safe and hug your loved ones.